I did want to talk to you about this. So this happens every year, so don't be alarmed. Around like end of June, beginning of July, it's really when NBA ends. And like baseball, it's especially when the College World Series is over and then pro baseball is all there is. My mind develops this really strong one track towards college football.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon, aside from like basic evolutionary needs, the only thing that remains is like
college football.
Nebraska football specifically.
Okay.
And it's like all I can really think about, and I start to get anxious, like thinking about the games, and excited thinking about the games I'm going to get to go to, and you know, I start to shout out to Ron, but I start to like think to myself, should I go talk to Ron about moving the Husker Watch location to a place that's better than Winking Lizard in Lakewood? And then, you know, like I get nervous about that. I'm like, well, where would I go? Who would have us? And then I think like, well, what if we don't win? Then not that many people will show up, and then it takes over.
Mm-hmm.
And the only method, the only prescription I have
is beer.
Well, is actually talking about it more.
Oh no.
And like, because I have this idea. So, if you...
This is going to turn into a college basketball or a college football
No,
podcast.
this show won't be. But the problem is, I don't think I could just sit and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do it justice. There are too many other people. Trust me, there's like 40 Nebraska football podcasts. Most of them are quite bad.
Oh.
Like, maybe even awful. Like, just a bunch of dudes who, they probably know football to some extent, right? But it's a lot of like, do you think Gabe Urban's going to get 1,000 yards this year? Well, just, you know, maybe, but Ramir Johnson, oh yeah, he's really fast. You know, and it's like this weird talk that...
They were already sitting in their garage and someone just turned on some mics.
Yeah. And they have nice equipment and they know the roster. I mean, they're Nebraska football fans. I don't want to take anything away from them. It just, there are like 80 of those. And some of them hustle harder, and they've like actually, they'll get players or former players or coaches even to like interview. But it's a lot of like, you know, ass kissing type of stuff, right? Like, oh, are you guys excited after you beat Iowa last year? That was so awesome. And it's
Notice me, football daddies.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't be happy doing that either, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that's really missing is advanced stats discussion of Nebraska football.
Yeah.
But also like a little bit of hardcore X's and O's stuff that's going on.
Like strategy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're concerned. What's your question? You're concerned about this period of time, right? For me, this is amazing because I'm big baseball. Like, this is great. Through October. Well, for some people through October. Maybe us. But you're like pre-anxious, right? So what are you going to do about it?
I've had this idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been in my head for several years now. I can't get rid of it. I would like to do a show that actually traces the downfall of Nebraska football.
That sounds pretty dark.
Oh, it's trust me, I lived it. It's exceptionally dark.
You could do a limited series where you're like literally just presenting facts and tales and just speaking it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a show, a live show. It could just be you talking about it.
Yeah.
What's stopping you from doing that?
Nothing really, I guess.
You could totally do
I
it.
need the organization. The organization probably, there needs to be some forework put in to give it structure, what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But then I do like, you know, maybe as like a bonus episode, like talking about the weekly game that just happened and all this kind of stuff. So the idea being that with a new coach who actually, he's been called an adult in the room, which is something that's been sorely missing. that maybe it starts to go like upward trajectory, whereas it has been kind of downward for a while. And, I think people would like that.
So you're saying you want to do this with someone else? No, I'm a big avid sports fan. I don't know how I could help you there, but I can turn on some equipment for you and press some buttons. But how would you manage that? It sounds like something you're really passionate about, though. So what's stopping you? You could also write a book as well.
Yes.
Do a lot of other things.
I'd want to like incorporate as part of the descent, right? There was a certain personal madness that was a part of this, right?
Oh, I live in Cleveland, sweetie. I know all about that. Following sports teams that lead you into madness. It's dark. It's dark over here.
There was this one memory pops into my mind. It must have been November of 2006.
Okay.
Nebraska is playing Texas in Lincoln.
I'm listening. Mm-hmm.
This is the Zach Taylor team. Zach Taylor is the coach of the Bengals now. He's the quarterback for Nebraska at this time. Mm-hmm. It's like snowing in Lincoln. I, nerd speech debate guy, am at a tournament at Ball State University.
Oh.
And in between my rounds, I'm like frantically seeking like just one of those TV lounges that many college campuses have where there's ESPN going on. I eventually find one. And I'm trying to watch the game.
Yeah.
And it's like a tight game. It goes, and I'll spoil it for you.
Okay.
Nebraska loses on a last-second field goal. We had like a 4th and 1 with a chance to, like, if we converted the 4th down, we could just run out the clock. Mm-hmm. And they called like a little rollout pass, which first of all is ballsy, right? Because it's 4th and 1. You just run the ball and maybe you get it.
Yeah.
So they run a little out route, and oh my gosh, the receiver is number 83. Why can't I think of his name? He runs a little out route. It'll come to me. Taylor just throws it over to him. He catches it, and it's like, we just got a 1st down. And then the Texas ball like tackler hits him low, like lifts his legs out from under him, and as he's going down, like his arm hits the ground first and literally fumbles the ball, and they recover and then win the game. And
it's fucking dark.
But so then here's the thing. In the middle of this, so like this happens, I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, I cannot believe that this just happened.
Sure.
This fucking guy walks into that TV lobby, and there's like a piano there.
Yeah.
At Ball State, and I'm sure he's a Ball State student.
Sure.
He sits down and starts playing the piano.
Like anything in particular? Or?
It didn't get very far because he starts playing. I look at him, and I'm like, this was like right after the fumble. I go, hey, the game's not over yet. And he's like still doon, doon, doon,
oh my God.
And I just walk over, I grab the thing, the little cover for the keys, and I just pull it back over and go, we are watching the game.
Stop. You were at Ball State.
Yeah.
Tell us some kids.
I think I said kindly quit. We are watching the game.
You can't say quit kindly, but at least it wasn't like da 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 da. Once you guys fucking fumbled the ball.
It was.
He could have been playing circus music or something, just really rubbing it in, but he wasn't.
Yeah. I don't think he had anything to do with me, but.
You made it his problem.
I did.
No, I feel for sports fans. The off months of your favorite team are rough. Like when I end up watching golf on TV, I know that
Why would you do that?
I know that I have descended into the depths.
I just lost a lot of respect for you.
No, it's not. Hey, when you need to watch sports of some kind, and that's all there is.
Are you a 65-year-old man?
No, but I know a lot.
Are you formerly a banker?
No.
Do you have a handicap?
In golf or in life?
In golf. Do you own any hats that say Titleist or?
No, I don't. I'm not saying that I like this. I'm not saying that it gives me joy of any kind. Just saying that if you want to watch sports on TV, sometimes it gets a little dark. And it sounds like your dark period is actually when some like good shit is also happening. Just saying. When is your dark period before Nebraska football?
It's just now. I mean,
what's wrong with baseball?
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just
It's
other
not
parts
enough.
of the year have so much more. Think of the month of
Well, sure.
September, right?
It's a lot.
You've got college football, pro football, baseball.
Yep.
October, all of that, plus the most important baseball, plus NBA starting.
Right. It's a big month. October's a big month.
Think of the month of April.
It's a big
You've
month.
got NBA
NBA
playoffs.
yeah.
You've got baseball really ratcheting up. College baseball is still going.
College basketball.
College
coming into
basketball is
May.
kind of ending. So
What's your question? You going to start a Nebraska podcast as well on top of this podcast?
yeah, I didn't really have a question. I was just
No, that's okay. I understand what it's like. See, my problem is, and by the way, let me just, I'm going to retract my previous statement. That was an
you don't watch golf.
I don't watch golf.
Oh,
that
thank God.
That was an exaggeration. I'm saying that when you feel desperate to watch something, I watch old college softball. I mean, some of that shit is amazing. I'll watch that shit on ESPN as long as they'll play it. But between seasons of stuff is sometimes hard, especially when your team is not even.
That actually
breaking
brings
500.
up a burning question that I do have.
Okay, ask.
Are women's sports better the more that they differ themselves from the men's equivalent?
Differ themselves how? Other than
softball to baseball.
other than the
Like, if-
logistics of it?
No. Would you pay to watch girls baseball compared to softball? I think softball is its own unique thing, and people like it. It does fairly well on TV.
It does.
I don't think it would be improved by making it more like men's baseball.
Okay. Yeah. Other than the size of the ball and the over versus under, same rules apply.
Much different field setup.
It's a different field setup.
I mean, the game
it's
is
closer.
different. The game is different.
It's different. It's set up different, but it's played the same.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I think you're arguing with me. And I'm trying to say
I'm not.
I think that softball is really cool.
I
think
like
girls
watching
softball is a pretty good product.
It is a good product. I don't mean to argue. I'm just saying that
I don't think it would improve at all by saying, what does baseball do? Baseball has more home runs than softball, right?
right.
Do you think softball would be improved by more home runs? I don't think so.
Probably not. I mean, it's exciting when you have balls in the field
Yeah.
to play. So I agree with you there. What I mean is, and maybe this is going to come off as reverse sexism, but man, those young women that play in these softball teams, their bodies, they put everything out on the line, and they get hit. They are crazy. They are crazy. And yeah, getting hit by something that's coming at 65 miles an hour, that's the size of a grapefruit, versus something at 95, that's the size of your palm. It sucks. But those games turn into physical altercations, and they turn into something that's really entertaining to watch. Somewhere a cross between men's baseball and hockey.
Yeah. And maybe I'm from Nebraska and this is what we care about, but women's volleyball in Nebraska is a huge, huge deal.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we're top 3 program collegiate. They're going to play a volleyball game this year in the football stadium, and they sold 90,000 tickets.
Holy shit.
It's a huge deal.
I didn't know that.
I like watching college volleyball. I don't think that men could do it better. I mean, obviously men could probably beat the girls at volleyball.
Sure.
But in terms of watching it, I think it's more fun to watch the women's volleyball.
So, for you, obviously you draw a line at golf.
Well, I won't. I just won't do it.
You don't.
I'm an honorable man. I'm not going to do that.
You're not going to call it a sport. I couldn't lower myself.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, I guess this is at the end of the day my point.
Yeah.
Women's basketball should not be played on a 10-foot tall hoop or some other thing. They should do something to change it up.
Yeah.
So that the game is different and kind of unique.
Yeah. They could, but then you get all the fuckery on the other side of it.
What do you mean?
Like we were talking about like lowering the hoop so that more women can dunk.
Objectively.
Yes.
Lowering, or I shouldn't say objectively, but metaphorically lowering the standards.
Right.
If these ladies were slamming, that would be way cooler.
Hey, but the ones that do, it's like, holy shit.
But there's only like 2 that can dunk.
There's only a couple that can dunk, yeah.
But I mean, if they all were like hanging on the rim, it'd be way more fun.
It's a rough world out there. It's a rough world of sports. Because, not that I know anything about golf, because I don't at all. My dad got me golfing lessons when I was 16 as a birthday present. Do you think that was great? I was not a good golfer.
I've never had a lesson. I'm terrible. I don't like it.
But don't you think it's critical that you know how to play golf?
No.
You don't. So if someone invites you to play golf with a bunch of like bigwigs,
muckety mucks. Maybe
you would drive the cart.
15 years ago that was a thing.
You don't think it's a thing anymore?
I know a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
Those are the same people that were featured prominently in our episode about
typing,
being able to type. I know what you're saying, and when I first started in this industry, there were a couple times where like the same VP of sales who couldn't type, who asked me to he's like, oh, you should come to my club and play golf, and I was like, I'm sorry, I don't play golf. It wouldn't be very fun for me.
Yeah.
If you want to
get some beers, go
sure,
to a game,
I'll happily do that.
Yeah.
Here's one. Let's go play tennis somewhere, and let's.
I will fuck you up.
Let's, you know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing. Like, to me, if I'm just going to go stand around for 3 hours, I at least want to, get a good sweat in.
Right.
I don't think, I mean, nothing against golf. Some people like it, but
sure,
it's not the same as, riding my bike for 20 miles.
No.
And riding my bike for 20 miles takes less than half the time.
True. True. No, golf sucks. I will say I had to, not that Top Golf counts, because it doesn't fucking count.
That might be kind of fun.
I had to go out they had a get-together that I begrudgingly was like, oh, I've never met anybody in person ever for this job. So I went to it, and a couple of these women, mainly women, brought their husbands and stuff like that. So then they're coming in I'm going to win these little podunk trophies that they bought for all these different, variables. First thing out of the fucking gate, I hit 180 yards.
That's pretty far.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that.
But that was my only thing is power, and that was from softball. I mean, that's from softball. If I get a hold of something, that something is gone.
Good night.
Good night. And good luck. So it turned into this whole thing. I broke a sweat doing this Top Golf shit. But it was mainly me and the husbands. It's about power. You know what I mean? It's about the power of the hit off the tee. And
this is like a Nick Adams tweet.
Who is it?
Do you not read Nick Adams tweets?
No.
Oh, you are missing out.
No. Read me one. But the women's golf, just if you lower the hoop on women's basketball, it's the same thing. Where women they're already playing with a handicap because they have less muscle mass.
Yeah, but this isn't my point. Who cares?
I don't. I like watching sports. I like listening to sports. I will watch generally what's ever on.
I guess this is my point is when you try to make men and women play the exact same game.
Yeah.
My observation is that it's hard to find an audience who wants to watch the women's version of the sport.
Yeah.
Whereas I am observing that when the further they get from a men's sport where it's kind of unique and you can kind of see the the gamesmanship and the strategy and kind of the cool parts of it, like it's pretty.
It is pretty cool.
Entertaining.
No, I like watching college softball for sure. It brings back. I have a little bit of trauma from playing softball. Like I watch these women play, and I'm thinking like, oh my god, like she gonna get crushed. You know what I mean? Because me playing softball, I'm not that intimidating or a large person stature-wise, but man, some of those corn-fed
ladies,
fine ladies from other neighboring schools that I played at, they would fuck me up at home plate.
Oh, I believe it.
For no reason. Like you were gone. You were out. I didn't even have to fucking tag. Like you're done. You're done. Didn't matter. I got my head knocked the fuck off every single game for fun. I had multiple concussions playing softball, and there was always someone that bled.
It was me.
And it was usually me. It was usually me.
Here's a good example of a Nick Adams tweet.
Okay.
So this is like a guy from Australia who's become a naturalized U.S. citizen.
Okay.
And he has this persona of like, he loves Trump. He loves eating at Hooters. He loves domestic beer. He loves.
Sorry.
He loves playing golf, but he calls them foursomes. And then eating ludicrously large steaks.
Okay.
It's like he'll refer to like how he knows his butcher, and he's like, you know,
you really outlined it perfectly.
He'll make like a 56-ounce tomahawk steak for me.
That's so fucking stupid.
And other people were so impressed that they started asking me to inspect their meats.
You find some good people on Twitter.
So here, a Hooters breakfast buffet would hit different. Imagine this. It's 5:45 a.m. and the boys are eating breakfast at Hooters before their foursome. The waitresses are bringing piping hot black coffee, no soy or oat milk in sight. When alphas are fueled up, nothing can stop us.
Oh my god. Oh, totally.
And then there's like a whole train of commenters that are like jump on his tweets.
Yeah.
And there's like almost always one where someone goes, "You need to apologize for this." And then he just writes NGFH. Not gonna fucking happen.
Not gonna fucking happen. No, that's my favorite thing. Is men talking about how they're alphas when they're going to play a game of golf.
Oh yeah, he always calls himself an alpha male too.
That's so funny. That's complete reverse of what I would think in my mind as far as sports goes.
And he also writes these really, really long ones about how most of the time it's like, I was at this restaurant and I saw these.
I'm still thinking about Hooters at 5:45.
He like overhears someone having a conversation, and then he sets them straight about Trump.
Oh, sure.
And then
we need more people like that.
They always give him a standing ovation.
Oh, that sounds very much like Trump's text too.
It's very funny.
Do people call him sir as well?
No,
for no
not
reason?
really.
Okay, good.
It's hilarious though. Like, if you read this stuff, I personally I find it to be, at this point in time, he's probably the second funniest person on Twitter.
Who's the first?
3-year Letterman, easily.
3-year Letterman?
Yeah. You don't know 3-year Letterman?
No.
Oh, he's a championship youth football coach.
Stop. I can't breathe.
He has so many championship rings. He literally struggles to turn door handles.
Stop.
Yeah.
That's so fucking stupid. Stop.
He's a 1%er who makes $36 an hour plus bennies.
Stop. Why is
He
this so
literally paid for his waterbed with cash. He didn't have to finance it.
Oh my God, stop.
He has a company car, 2014, loaded Ford Taurus.
You know this guy very well, it seems.
So he's like on a roll today. Like, he'll tweet these things. It's like, there's literally nothing, or I can't think of literally anything that England does better than America. And then everyone who replies to him, they'll be like, nationalize healthcare. And he'll be like, it's like, that's a nice word salad to say your grandfather surrendered at Yorktown. And it's just like, he's like, you guys don't even have air conditioning.
That's funny.
And it's this kind of stuff. He's written 2 books now.
That's funny. Holy shit. I don't know that many funny people on Twitter. I'm there for the Guardian stuff. But there's a couple guys that I follow that are fucking hilarious. And actually, with a little bit of creeping, because we don't even follow each other on any social media things, you and I, but with a little bit of creeping, fucking Always the Jake, I think, follows you, and he cracks me the fuck up.
Who is?
Always the Jake. He cracks me up. He is so fucking funny.
He does follow me.
He does. I follow him. You still haven't answered how you're going to survive this downtime season. How are you going to do this?
If I have time, I would love to do the podcast. I just don't see how it's...
You can set up something as simple as what I've got over there. I promise you can do it yourself. I have faith. You could do it yourself. You could sit there and...
What are you recording on? Like, is there a program for it, or...?
Yeah, it's free. It's called Audacity.
Audacity.
Yeah.
You download it, or is it like...
Yeah, it's free.
There are a couple that are like...
It's not a I don't fuck with the cloud software stuff, because sometimes
this is a reel. You had to download it and then...
Yep,
okay.
It's a software component app on the computer. I have faith in you. I think when you have the time, when you have the motivation, which it already sounds like you do have the motivation, because it seems like you're going to be bored for a little bit.
I know, but...
I think you could do it yourself.
Here's the thing. In a matter of time...
Do you have to do that bouncing off of other people? But that person would have to have the same level of knowledge and history that you have to present that information. What
I'm always looking for is what I try to provide for, like, the people who work for me, right? I'm like, you have horsepower. I'm just trying to harness that and point it in a direction.
Yeah.
And to, set some guardrails up, and then, you are just motoring in that.
Bumpers.
In this direction. Nobody really does that for me, which is what I would.
It's really interesting. I know exactly what you mean. Like, who's there to regulate you and your cockamamie ideas, even if they're great?
Yeah.
To someone else, they might be just cockamamie.
Yeah, but some are probably dumb. And that's the whole point, is if someone else were sitting there going, hey, you're going to show up, we're going to talk about just your organization, of how you want to do this podcast.
Yeah.
That's actually an episode.
Yeah.
Let's go through it. Let's talk about it. Let's have a whiteboard and let's kind of draw some stuff out, and we'll settle on what the answer is, right? But don't do that in, like, don't lock yourself in a room and do that. Like, make that be part of it, right?
You're starting to sound like a member of, like, my family. For example, like, when we're all invested in, like, oh, I really need to clean my house, you feel like you need someone to watch over you while you do it. They don't need to participate. You just need somebody there to regulate, to just be like, you're doing great. Actually, no. Actually, don't say anything at all. I just need someone to talk to. Mm-hmm. Like, do you feel like you're like that in life?
Sometimes, yes. I would.
Like,
I'd like someone to set the table.
Well, you set the table on everything else. And that's how I feel sometimes in my own life. Not to the extent that you actually experience. But I'm like, I'd love it if someone else made the decisions, you know what I mean? And I just showed up because, you're the talent, right? The talent just walks in and does all the stuff. But you don't have to do any of the legwork, the stuff that's behind the scenes.
When I was in Iraq, the battalion commander, he was the commander. Mm-hmm. But in reality... He didn't make that many decisions.
Sure.
He liked to describe himself as a weapon system. He knew he wasn't, like, the smartest guy. He was a nice guy. Mm-hmm. Not a terrible leader. But he, like, basically his S3, which is, like, the chief of the staff, the battalion staff, like, pretty much set the tone figured out the strategy and like
Yeah.
did everything. And then the commander was like, I am a weapon system. The S3 points me at problems, and I
boop.
And I do them.
I think you have a lot of ideas, and like I've said, I want to help you with that, because what the fuck else am I? Anyways, but that's not the only reason. It's not just because I'm bored, but I think a lot of your ideas belong on paper, whether you think that's the right medium or not. That's just my 2 cents, and we've talked about that, but I think you could do this podcast if you wanted, like some little limited series, like the rise and fall of Nebraska.
Well, I don't know what's it's actually been really heartbreaking.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
At one point in 2021, we lost 8 games in a row by 1 score. It's the longest record. It's the longest amount of these types of games that's ever happened in college football.
I don't mean to laugh.
And I was sitting there just, living and dying and then dying by all these moments.
I was giggling at the fact that there was an accurate, like, apropos title. That's what I was giggling at.
What's the title?
The Rise and Fall of Nebraska Football. Is that not catchy? Is it too long? We can shorten it.
Well, I mean, no one wants to listen because they want there's no hope.
Well, now we're going to broach into another subject about that people want. They want to hear the good stuff. They want to hear the fighting from behind, the underdog,
or just some idea that there's an end to
But
this.
when you're just talking about a stagnant flat line of
people can put up with almost anything, like even some truly terrible experiences.
If you are just as invested in Nebraska football, there has to be other people that are.
Oh, there's tons.
It's this little niche that you would be like commiserating with. It's not completely out of line.
No. What I'm saying is people can deal with truly terrible experience.
Sure.
As long as they know it's going to end at some point in time. Right?
That's why.
I'll buckle down through just about anything if you tell me it's going to end in 3 months. Put your big boy pants on. Stop complaining.
Sure.
Get through it.
But how many people can actually tell you that something's going to end like that?
Well, that's the job of the Pied Piper, to continually pull this
pedal bullshit.
No, but everyone is a Pied Piper.
Pedal
I don't
hope.
think that this is a unique thing, right?
Sure.
You have to pull that thread out of even the bad things that are happening. Like, hey,
every sports fan or sports team, but every sports fan deals with this, unless you're the insert bullshit team here.
Yeah. Except for Nebraska, like, when I was 10 years old, we won 3 national titles in 4 years, and then played for another one in 2001. And then, I'm not going to say we went off a cliff, but it was bad.
Guardians can say the same thing.
Guardians have never won a World Series. It's different.
Yes, they have.
Not since,
19.
Exactly. So,
but that's why it's devastating. But they've gotten close. I'm saying that, like, when they were actually contenders, when I was 10 years old. Like, when they were actually doing all of that stuff and actually competing, and it was like fait accompli, like they end up there.
I gotta go, but you're like trying to rival this thing, and I'm saying
I'm not trying to rival.
These aren't the same things. The Guardians have their own, worse than the Cubs at this point, right? Always a bridesmaid, never a bride, sort of a thing. Nebraska, though, is like a different story.
They were good, and now they're not.
It's like a Hamlet. Like, they were high, and then they've been brought low.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. And it's just a different Shakespeare, what the Guardians are.
I was relating to the time period of what you were saying, but yes. Understood. So what are you going to do about it?
One thing that helps is when we have those meetings at work where there's like nothing going on, just like someone talking, and I can have my notebook open and write in it. And we're not really expected to know everything. I get a lot of good note taking done during those.
Well, I think you should tell the tale. Whether you know how it's going to end or not. I think it's good history.
All right, I can do that.
Okay, bye. you. Also, like, fell down the fucking steps the last time he was here. So, like, when
into the water.
Yeah. So it's
into the water.
By the way, it's yes. And by the by the way, it's like
that's great.
No, it's not. It's like sewage water, and it becomes my problem. Okay.
Yeah, but the fact that he was giving you a lot of guff, and then
he is giving me a lot of guff,
and then fell into the water,
stoned out of his fucking mind, being like, "Oh, I want to be respectful. I'm gonna put those little like plastic booty things on." I'm like, dude, like, don't worry about it. Everything's already fucked and covered in literal shit. And he was trying to get one of those like booties on, just like fucking. It's not funny.